Hi guys, Mark from Mind Frontiers, and today I'm going to do another geeky little post, but I'm going to talk about phobias and how they come from, and then we're going to bring it in with Game of Thrones because I love Game of Thrones. Didn't like season 8, but that's by the by. So, what is a phobia, and how does it develop? Let's look at the fact. So, using an example, you could be out in the countryside and you could be quite young, and then a traumatic experience happens. So it's like and then you get scared, which is a natural course of action. And our bodies go into fight or flight mode, so the adrenaline starts kicking around, and we sometimes freeze, sometimes we run away, or sometimes we're ready to fight the tiger. So let's use that as an example. So you're at a zoo, for example, and a tiger comes up and it growls at you, and you're not expecting it, and you jump and you get scared. Ordinarily, that's just what it is. But because the intense emotion with everything we see, touch, taste, and hear and smell is all recorded, it's like, oh, it's a tiger, it's a tiger, it's a tiger, and I get scared. So that can develop into a phobia, so a fear of tigers. But it's greater than that, because you could be elsewhere. Let's say you're at home and you're chilling out nicely and you're watching your favourite TV programme, and then suddenly a tiger appears on the TV programme. Get scared again, and then the phobia is now linked to the TV programme. And in this way, the phobia can develop and get bigger and bigger and bigger. So if somebody was afraid of spiders, for example, and then they go, spider, freak out. And then the next time they're doing something else and they see a spider, everything that they're doing at the time is then associated, is stuck in with that little bit that they're scared of. So that fear of spider becomes bigger and bigger until suddenly you can't leave your house. This is how phobias can be so quick and so massive. Now, normally I would say emotions and thoughts come within, but this is a conditioned response. So you think about it, conditioned response. You see it, conditioned response. Everything's linked. So we can unlink those using lots of different strategies. And we can unlink those. So let's look at some quotes from Game of Thrones, and let's link them in and see what we can do. So the first thing is winter is coming. Massive thing that was said so many times in Game of Thrones. And this was a big fear. This was a big phobia. Winter is coming. The darkness is coming. This is going to be really bad. So they were being anxious, and it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, but they're being anxious about the future. It's coming, and they got really scared. However, you've got the lone wolf dies, but the pack survives. So although things were difficult, they were able to come through it. So, and we are able to come through our own phobias when we start to challenge those thoughts and fears, because we can look at it and go, okay, what help do I need? What do I need to do differently? How can I break the link so I can just narrow it down to the specifics of my phobia? Because the more you can narrow it down, the easier it is actually to change. And then there's this as well. So power resides where men believe it resides. It's a trick, a shadow on the wall. And a very small man can cast a very large shadow. Now that was Varys that said this in Game of Thrones. And we've got the winter that's coming, and they're like, where's the power? Where's the power? But actually we have the power inside ourselves. We can utilise the power that we have. And it doesn't matter our size, and it doesn't matter the size of the phobia. If we utilise the strength within, and we learn different strategies, we can cast a large shadow onto the phobia and then the phobia will disappear. And we can actually do that. We can actually change how we do things and change our perceptions. And when we change our perceptions, the phobia it breaks up. It's not there. But when we have the phobia, as in Arya Stark, she says fear cuts deeper than swords. Fear is debilitating. But when we address the fear, which can be used as false evidence appearing real, so what are the facts? What can I do differently? Is this actually true? Or is it just my perception? And then you start thinking about different things. And this will actually challenge those thoughts and fears. Now, this little quote says, "A mind needs books like a sword needs a whetstone." And this was Tyrion that said this. So how does this fit in? Well, we've already said that fear cuts in deeper than swords. And sometimes when we have our phobias, we need to look inside ourselves, or we might need to do some research. We might need to look at things and how I can overcome these obstacles, how I can overcome these fears, how I can then become rational rather than being emotional. And this way you're educating and training yourself. So this is what this means. You can educate and train yourself, and the more you practice, it becomes like the sword with a whetstone. It becomes more enhanced. It becomes better, quicker, stronger. And this way we can smash those fears and phobias. Now, Brienne said, "All my life, men like you have sneered at me, and all my life I've been knocking men like you into the dust." So how does this fit in with phobias? Well, let's look at it. She was picked on. She had a fear that she wouldn't be accepted by other people. She wouldn't be accepted by the knights. Yet she was probably the best knight of them all. Because she believed in herself. She dealt with her own emotions. She dealt with her own fears. And she moved forward and she tackled them. And when we have our own fears and our own phobias, often we feel that we're going to be judged from other people. But if we take that back and just leave it as their opinion, we can just look at it and go, actually, that is just their opinion. The power, as I've said earlier, resides within. So we have the strength within ourselves. And then when you can analyse the phobia, you can actually change the phobia. So it could be similar to this. I'm not going to stop the wheel, I'm going to break the wheel, says Daenerys. In other words, she's going to tackle this phobia, this fear of not being able to become queen, and she wants to rule. She's going to tackle that head on. She's going to use her skills, use her knowledge, and use her power to basically break it apart, to smash it up. Because when we smash it up, our phobias, they just don't seem real anymore. Because our phobias are irrational thoughts. They're irrational responses. When we rationalise them and we change them, we start to challenge those beliefs. When we start to challenge those beliefs, we can get rid of the phobia. And sometimes, when we look at our phobias, it feels like they're the enemy. But actually, if we accept it, so instead of you need to be take your enemy side if you're going to see things the way you do, said Tyrion. But this means that we need to start looking at our own thoughts and our perceptions, and if we're seeing the enemy as the spider, for example, then we're not looking at it from the right point. If we're only looking at it from our point of view, not from the spider's point of view, who's probably more scared than you are, you can actually change that so it doesn't become the enemy. It becomes actually a lesson that you need to learn, just like in the books. So we can revert it back. We can challenge that, so we're not the enemy. And the phobia, it may stop you doing things, but you got to learn the lessons. So what's in your control, what's not in your control. How can I do things differently? How can I tackle it straight on? What can I do differently? What are the specifics about the phobia? And then you're learning from the enemy's point of view, so to speak. so that you can actually do things in a different way. And when we've dealt with the phobia, ourselves will feel a lot happier. We'll feel a lot more in control and a lot more empowered. And the quote here from Daenerys is, we're going to leave the world better than we found it. And our world starts within, guys. It starts from inside us. Not outside in the big bad world. Our thoughts and feelings start here. And if we sort ourselves out so we're okay with ourselves, then this is what we share to other people. And in that doing so, you can actually make the world a better place. Not just your own world. So, these are just some quotes from Game of Thrones that we can relate to phobias, that we can relate to fear. Now there's many, many more. And another one is like from Jon Snow, I don't want it. He didn't want to become king. He didn't want any power. But inevitably, that's what he ended up having. And he was trying to push it away. He was afraid of what it would do to him. And in the end, he did turn it down after he'd experienced it. And when we experience our emotions, we can look back and go, actually, this isn't really effective. Then we can challenge it. And then we can say, well, I've experienced that, I've dealt with that, but I don't want it anymore. And we can say that we don't want it anymore. We don't want our phobias anymore. We can actually use strategies. We can break it down, look at the specifics, challenge those thoughts and go, is this actually true? What has to happen for me to know that this is true? What am I getting out of it? We start challenging those thoughts and beliefs. And then we can deal with it. We can actually challenge those phobias. And when you've challenged the phobias and you break the links, the phobia's not there anymore. And when the phobia's not there, then you're laughing, really. And the final quote I'm going to leave you with, before we wrap it up, is from Hot Pie. He says, "Don't get me started on the gravy. Very difficult to get right. See, a lot of people give up on the gravy. You cannot give up on the gravy. No gravy, no pie. Simple as that." So, what I'm saying here is sometimes we have to learn and we have to analyse the situation to know what's going on, know what's effective, know what's not effective, what we can do differently next time, and we can do different things to get different results. But if we practice, and we practice with intent, these practices will eventually become a habit. So they will be the gravy. And it may just take some tweaking and some little bits here and little bits there. But with the power that we've got within inside us, we can actually become the gravy and have a beautiful piece of pie. Because we can learn to adapt, learn to change the situation, learn to change the perspective, learn to change how we perceive it, how we think about it, learn to change and break the links, becoming self-aware, so that we can use different strategies like mindfulness, like learning more, meditation, like looking at how we process thoughts. We can do all this, but first we have to take a step back and ask ourselves what it is it true? And if it's true, what actions do I need to take? So if you're going to be eaten by a tiger, then yeah, it's right to be scared and you can run. But if you're crossing the road and there's no tiger, then you need to start refocusing on what's around you and what's in the present moment in time. And live in the moment. So not the future, not the past. And when we have phobias from thoughts, we're often living in the future. We're often living in anxiety and fear, not in the present moment. We're giving in to the false evidence appearing real. Okay guys, so that was my little talk on phobias and linking it into Game of Thrones, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of different strategies out there. So many. All you've got to do is make a start. Make a start, you'll get a different result. And if you tweak it, you'll become the gravy and have a beautiful piece of pie. So thank you very much, guys. You guys are super awesome. Do take care, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.